Joe Rogan said a lot of things people turn into quotes. This one's different because it's not advice, it's the actual mechanism. Theo Von asked him a simple question about regret. What came back is one of the clearest explanations of how failure actually works that you'll hear anywhere. Stick around because by the end you'll hear the same question answered 2 more times by 2 men who lived it in completely different ways.
Sometimes I've had times in my life where I've thought too much about regrets and stuff in my life, right?
Yeah.
I know we've talked about that some in the past, like looking in the past too much, right? Or
Right.
attaching myself to the past. Has there been anything along your journey that you've kind of regretted? And then how do you deal with regret?
I mean, individual choices and mistakes, yeah, but ultimately you learn from those. So, like, no. Because, like, even the regrets, the bad things or the stupid things, you learn not to do bad things or stupid things. You know, all those things are beneficial in some way if you can get through them. You know, if you, like, did something that resulted in someone's death or something horrible like that, yeah, it'd be a terrible regret. But I've been very fortunate that hasn't happened. But the dumb shit that I've done or the bad mistakes that I've made, they've taught me. You know, you learn. Like, that's why failure is so important. Like, failing and fucking up and making mistakes, it's very important. That's how you learn. That's how the bad feeling that you get from something that you shouldn't have done or wish you didn't do or wish you did better. Like, especially failing at something where you half-assed it and you just feel like a fucking loser. Like, that just teaches you.
That's the whole idea in one line. The discomfort you feel after messing up isn't a malfunction, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Most people spend their whole life trying to make that feeling go away. Rogan's saying the opposite: sit in it long enough and it starts pointing you somewhere useful.
It teaches you to get your shit together.
Well, you have such a good ability to learn from those things. Some people, I think, kind of it's just like it gets
Yes.
repetitive for some people.
That's dangerous. Yeah, it's dangerous to dwell on past mistakes because people sort of define themselves by the worst moments that they've ever had. And if that's the case, like, some people are stuck in high school. You know, they're stuck in failures that they had, like, when they were first getting jobs, and they always think that they're a loser, and they don't like the feeling of failure, so they keep low expectations so that they never have to feel that.
Here's the trap most people fall into. They think the fix for feeling like a loser is to stop trying so they never have to feel it again. That's backwards, and it's expensive because lowering your expectations doesn't remove the fear, it just guarantees you stay small enough to never test it. The fix isn't avoiding the feeling. It's having people around you who can catch you when it hits.
You got to get through it. You got to get through bad feelings. You got to get through failure. It's very important. And you get through it by just picking yourself back up and moving forward and going. But it's hard for a lot of people because that sting, they never get over it, the feeling of failure. And they don't have a good support system, like good friends. Like, having a good community of friends is very, very important, because you could feel like if a girl broke up with you and you feel like you're the worst, you're a fucking loser,
yeah.
like you're a piece of shit. But then you go out with your friends and you have a few laughs, and next thing you know, you're laughing and you're like, I'm all right. We'll be all right. And then maybe you meet a new lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she, like, picks you up and you're like, oh, we're going to be okay. And then you learn from the last mistakes.
Yeah.
That's life. It's just those feelings of failure are so hard. They're so hard to get over, and they overwhelm people, and some people can't get past them. And then every time some new thing comes up, when you have to rise to the occasion, you have to perform, you think about that time you failed, and it fucks your head up, man. You think, I'm a fucking loser, I can't do this, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fuck up, you know? Like bombing. Like, how many times have you had a bad set, and you're like, God damn it, I suck at comedy, I can't do this. I can't do this. I suck at comedy. That's just it, I just suck. And then you define yourself that way, and you got to get over it.
Yeah, I do notice, thankfully, you never have too bad in a row either, which is kind of interesting.
Well, you learn from that one, and you're like coming out guns blazing for the next show.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it activates some senses in you. Did you feel like you learned that from somebody, or did you always just have that kind of intuition when it comes to that kind of stuff?
Notice he's not speaking in theory here. Everything he just described is what actually got him through it, not something he read in a book. That's the difference between advice and a lived answer. One sounds good, the other actually held up when he needed it too.
I think I learned it from martial arts, because you get your ass kicked, and like, you don't want to get your ass kicked again. You either quit fighting or you learn how to get a lot better, you know, and then you get your ass kicked in training, which happens all the time. And, you know, you learn from those mistakes. You learn, you know, like, maybe you were stationary too much, or maybe you telegraphed too much, or maybe you got tired and you haven't been doing your cardio. Like, those failures that you have from martial arts are so consequential because you get hurt. Like you physically get punished, and then you don't want that to happen again. So you got to be either quit or get way better.
I like that. And that's great for a lot of my listeners. A lot of guys, or just, a lot of guys just trying to keep going in their lives, you know?
With everybody, in my listeners, your listeners, anybody who's listening to any people, just
totally.
people out there.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many self-help books. That's why there's so many motivational documentaries and motivational Instagram pages, is because people need stuff like that. They need something. And generally, the best version of it is coming from someone who's experienced fuck-ups.
Notice what Rogan's answer assumes, that the problem is dwelling on a mistake too long. But what if some regret isn't about a mistake at all? It's about something you never let yourself have. You can't learn your way out of that one because there was never a lesson to extract. There's just an absence. That's a completely different kind of hurt, and it needs a completely different kind of answer. Here's a man who spent his career studying exactly that.
Fifth one is, I wish I'd let myself be happier.
Yeah.
What does that say?
Well, that always reminds me of, because I mentioned Dr. Panksepp and his concept of the brain circuits.
Yeah.
One of them is for play and joyfulness. And do you know Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not personally.
No. The book. It's always been one of my favorite books. And I've talked about this before. The end of that book would bring tears to my eyes for years. Because how it ends is Christopher Robin. By the way, that's the whole other thing. The relationship between A.A. Milne and his son Christopher was a very fraught and difficult one.
Right.
And Christopher actually resented the books because he felt that his father was buying these toys to write about rather than for his own benefit.
Wow.
Well, they had a very different. There's a photograph of the two of them, and the kid is looking so alienated. He had a tough life, but that's a whole other story. But the book, in the book, Christopher Robin, the little boy, now has to go to school.
Yeah.
And he has to learn about history and factors and mathematics and so on. And he's telling his friends, the toy animals, that he won't be able to play with them so much anymore. And in the end, Christopher and Winnie the bear of Little Brain, who's the smartest of the whole lot, and they walk off together, and the book ends with the statement, something like, and whatever they do or wherever they go in the enchanted forest, the little boy and his bear will always be playing together. And that phrase would bring tears to my eyes for years.
This is the regret nobody names because it doesn't look like failure. You don't feel it in the moment. You just wake up one day older, having done everything you were supposed to do, and realize you can't remember the last time you actually played, really played, not scrolled, not relaxed, played. That's not a mistake you can point to. That's a slow leak, and slow leaks don't announce themselves until the tire's already flat. Here's what he thinks it costs you.
Because play is so important, and joy is so important, and that's what these people are talking about. And they didn't allow themselves to experience it. They sacrificed the play and the joy for all these other things.
Notice he doesn't just diagnose this from a distance. He's about to turn the camera on his own marriage and show you exactly what choosing playback looks like.
And so the good thing is, my marriage, the best thing, and you know what the best thing in my marriage is? The way we play together. Mm-hmm. The first time I dated my wife, Ray, I knocked on the parents' door and I said, "Can Ray come out and play?" And we've been doing it ever since. And so I believe what's being described in that last regret is people sacrifice their playfulness, their joyfulness, for the sake of being accepted and being successful and all that. It's a huge one. Play is built into...
Here's the pitfall in everything you've heard so far. It's easy to assume regret is what happens when you mess up or when you don't let yourself have something. But what about someone who did everything right, became the best in the world at what he does, and still ended up here? That should worry you a little because it means the finish line you're chasing right now might not be the thing you think it is. Winning was never going to be what saved him.
You could have to prepare yourself. If you could just whispered in your ear.
I think I would have told my younger self to work on your state of mind and your priorities. With equal effort as you do your skating. I was so hyper fixated on my skating and getting better and my success in skating that I didn't really work on my humanity. I mean, in terms of my relationships and being present and maybe that's what it took to get that far. But I think I would just tell my younger self, like, to figure out how to function more as a human than just a professional.
Sit with that for a second. The best skateboarder who ever lived just told you that winning the thing he set out to win didn't save him from this. Not the medals, not the money, not being the best on the planet at the one thing he cared about most. If mastering your craft doesn't buy you out of it, nothing does, so what actually does?
Did you lose people?
Yeah. And also gained people through my changes and through finding my priorities. And I mean, honestly, like I'm in an incredible place. I'm happier than I've ever been, and I have much better relationships with my kids, even though most of them are adults, and I'm just more reliable.
What is skating without the relationships? Like, what is skating for you? So if I was to say, okay, you can skate forever, you can carry on doing your skating, but I'm going to take away the family and the meaningful relationships, what does life become then?
That doesn't sound as fun. It's not the end all for me anymore. I love it, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can, and probably still push myself in a lot of ways, but that is compartmentalized. And it's, when I do it, I'm all in on it, and I'm doing it, and then I leave it there. I'm not just obsessing on it the rest of the day.
I was speaking to a neuroscientist on this podcast who told me that the brain actually changes as we age up until about 30, where I think for a male, it roughly stops changing when we get to 30, I think he said to me. And with that, our priorities change. So in our early 20s, we're like trying to get laid and like trying to do the things that will whatever. And then as we get into our 30s and beyond, our priorities in life shift.
Notice the gap between knowing something and actually changing it. He knew all of this, he's self-aware, already famous for reinventing his sport more than once. Knowing wasn't the fix. It took years and it took outside help, the kind most people are too proud to ask for. That's the part nobody wants to hear, and it's the part that's actually true.
I just noticed that I was stuck in a cycle of compulsive behaviors and something that I didn't enjoy and didn't feel like it was helping me to have good relationships with my family, with my kids. And I think I just took inventory and thought I got to make a positive change. And so it wasn't like my brain was changing and I figured, it was more that I had to go get help, lean into therapy, figure out how to process all these things and how to move forward in a much more congruent way with my values. And I was able to do it. It took a while. But it was more into my 40s that happened.
So here's the natural next question. What was actually underneath it? What was he protecting himself from all those years?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just being afraid of intimacy, and a lot of that, I'm not blaming my parents, but definitely I didn't have great examples of it growing up. So I had to figure that out and how to be vulnerable. I think I was always very guarded.
3 men, 3 completely different registers. One blunt, one tender, one guarded. A comedian who turned failure into fuel. A therapist who grieves the joy people never let themselves have. A legend who won everything and still had to go learn how to be a person. Different wins, different losses, same lesson. You don't get to skip the hard part. You just get to decide what you do with it afterward. Notice none of them fixed it alone, either friends, a marriage. A therapist, so if you're waiting to feel like you've earned the right to rest, to play, to be vulnerable, stop waiting. None of these 3 men found peace by winning enough first. That's kind of the whole point of this channel, real moments from real conversations that actually tell you something true. Follow along for more of it.